Hi guys. Today is a little bit of a different type of video. I don't have my vtuber, my PNG tuber. I'm not playing a video game. I'm just me. And this is a video that I didn't want to make, but I feel like I have to make, because I feel like there's a lot of things that are being said behind closed doors that aren't quite true. I've lost a lot of friends. I've seen how some people have been uncomfortable talking to me, and it pains me to see, because I don't believe I did much wrong. Like, I know I had my issues, I know I had my problems. I suffer from bipolar disorder, depression, and anxiety, and so sometimes I have things like suicidal ideation, and that is a problem for some people. I understand and I get it. There are some things that I did, like sometimes the pills had to be put away, or there were times where I just needed to be left alone, and it was worrisome. I understand that. But I was in a relationship with Zombiesgonomb. I was Zombby, and I was in this relationship for roundabouts 10 years. We met a lot earlier than that, but in this 10-year relationship, there were problems, there were things that really wore on me. Something that a lot of people might not know is that I tried to break up with zombies 4 different times in the span of 5 years. All 4 times I was coerced into staying. Some of these times there would be crying and begging for me to stay. Other times it was, what can I work on? What can I do to make sure that you stay with me? And in good faith, I thought that this was coming from a place of good, but this was coming from a place of control. He handled all the finances, to the point where I didn't know how much he was making. I just had to go off of his word. Almost at the end, for about 3 or 4 years, we regularly had to ask people for money, for rent, for utilities. We regularly got cut off. Was regularly late, and it put me in such a state of anxiety. At the end of every month, I was so anxious, like, who am I gonna have to ask for money this time? Who can I not pay back this time? And it was terrible. Could barely keep a roof over our heads. Could barely keep a car running. I still owe people, and that's me. I owe people, because of what I asked in our relationship. And there were times where he would speak for me, he would speak over me, he would not allow me to talk. And there were times where there was this forced sort of intimacy. He would come in my room often, and to where he was at the door and it was the only door and he would hover in it. There were times where he would come into the bathroom while I was taking a shower just to see me. It was uncomfortable, to say the least. I couldn't keep the house clean, no matter how hard I tried, and I finally just gave up. He would spend so much money on things. Things that he didn't need, things that I didn't ask for, just things. And to the point where he couldn't be in a room that wasn't messy, that was clean, like had a lot of space. I know I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry, this was not a scripted video, and I feel like I should have scripted it a little better, but this is just me talking. This is just me explaining. And what I hope with this is that people understand where I'm coming from. People understand what happened from my perspective. And I don't know. I'm struggling to talk about this, but I'm going to. I told myself that whenever I started this video, I was gonna get there. And trigger warnings all around. I couldn't have sex if I wasn't drunk. And a lot of these times, I will admit, it was by my own accord. And I was still in a good enough state to know what was happening and know what I was doing, and agreeing to it, because that's how I felt like I could have sex. That's the only way I could feel like I could have sex. Recently been proven wrong, but regardless. There was one time at AWA, I was too drunk to walk. This was in 2021 or 2022, the last AWA that we went to. I couldn't walk. I had to be helped to the car. I threw up in the car. And I was too drunk to consent. I couldn't move on the bed once I got there. And he stopped halfway saying, "This doesn't feel right." But the fact that he started in the first place is enough. And I try to I try to accept what happened. I try to get over what happened, and it's hard because even in a relationship, that was too far. That was too far. And the fact that he spent 10 years under the guise of wanting to help, under the guise of supporting me, under the guise of wanting to see the best me, I had broken down. It was insidious. In the past few months, I have seen a life that I didn't think I could have. And it's this sort of control that he had that seemed so kind. And yet I felt like I couldn't leave. I felt like I was trapped. After trying to break up with him 4 different times, and 4 different times I couldn't leave, I felt trapped. Like, this is the best I'm gonna get. I'm stuck. And the culmination of that, and of Awa, and of seeing a glimpse of a life that I could have, is what tipped the scales and made me realize that no, I can get through this. I can do this. I can leave if I want to. And I know that I'm not explaining half as much as I want to explain, because words are really hard for me when it comes to big feelings. But it was, I regularly said he treats me like a princess, but it was under the condition that I didn't leave. It was under the condition that I did what he asked. It was under the condition that I accepted things that I should not have accepted. Like, I let him quit his job to become a YouTuber. I grinded. I worked as hard as I could to be able to keep a roof over our heads. And I said that he could. I get that. I understand that. But there came a point where I needed help. And I told him I needed help. More than once I told him, I need help with these bills. I need help. And he said, well, I'll just work harder. But it never showed itself that he could help me in the way that I needed help. And he refused to get a day job. There's a lot of things that has happened that I have grievances with. And I take responsibility in the fact that I was there, and I accepted the fact that I was there, and I continued to stay. I accept the fact, I accept responsibility that I, to some degree and at some level, accepted that and went through that and still stayed. That's on me. I get that. But I feel that I didn't deserve a lot of the things that have happened. I didn't deserve a filthy house. I didn't deserve having to grind my fucking heart out to be able to keep a roof over our heads while he sat there trying to be a YouTuber. I didn't deserve to be stuck in a relationship that I tried to leave. I didn't deserve to be taken advantage of. I didn't deserve to be emotionally manipulated. I didn't deserve any of that. Even though I accept responsibility that I stayed, I didn't deserve it. And that's what I came here to say. And I know that there are people out there who's not going to believe me. I know that he's going to speak out about this. He's going to twist words. He's going to try his best to regain any sort of control over this narrative. I understand that. And if you don't believe me, then you don't have to. I'm here to share my side, my perspective. I'm not here to try and convince you. I'm not here to try and ruin him. I'm not here for that. But I am here to set the record straight. Because I feel like there have been words that have been exchanged that have been lies or manipulation or a twisting of the truth. I hope that this sheds some light on some things. And I sincerely hope that this reaches who it needs to reach. I really wish that things could have gone differently. And I really hoped that I didn't have to make this video, but I really feel like I should. There is one last thing that I forgot to mention while watching back my video, and what you have heard thus far has been my experience. However, and I have a notepad for this now, because it was completely unscripted, so I did forget this. He has scrubbed everything from the breakup, from our personal Discord. Anything that wasn't said verbally is gone. Gone. This is all I have. But he would regularly talk negatively of people he says are his friends or his subscribers while around me, and unfortunately I did play into this. I want to say that I am incredibly sorry for everything that I had said, both in Discord and verbally. I take full responsibility for what I have said, and I can only hope that you can forgive me for things that had been said. Some of it wasn't pretty, and I'm sorry. I really am. And I wish I could give you more proof, but he said a lot of this verbally. This is the only proof that I could get. Talking about Otteron, about how he's starting to burn. This was about his YouTube and how his, I believe how his audience retention was going down, or perhaps he wasn't making the same numbers that he usually does. So there's that one. And then about Joel, talking about how he was argumentative and how Z was upset that Joel did it live. He actually had a lot to say verbally about Joel. Some that I'm not comfortable talking about. So I'm sorry that I can't give you more detail on that. And then about Siren, he had the most to say about Siren and Pegasus. With Siren, what I have here is that they're having a fit. He had a lot to say about Siren, about how he acted in the sense of being emotional, or he has also said that Siren has e-begged on his stream, and other such things. He verbally, he never had anything good to say about Siren. And the same with Pegasus. He would regularly dunk on Pegasus for having lower numbers, for being boring or not a good streamer. And I've talked with Pegasus personally already. I've already personally apologized for the things that I've said. And it was just things that I'm very regretful for playing into. But yes, this is the stuff that I didn't say in the video. There's a lot of stuff that happened during the breakup that was upsetting that I didn't get into. When he was losing the control that he had on me, I was actually afraid. He never did. I will give him that. He never did, but I was afraid that he would resort to any tactic he needed to be able to get me to stay, including violence. I did not feel safe in my home when he was here.
Hi everyone, you may call me Artanis. There is something that Zombie says here. Oh, sorry, let me backtrack. Uh, I'll become a little bit more relevant to this story later on, but there's something I need to point out here about what Zombie is saying. I need to make this crystal clear because I don't want anybody else who watches this think that just because somebody isn't putting hands on you, that they are not being violent. Merriam-Webster defines violence as marked by the use of usually harmful or destructive physical force, and that's what everybody thinks of when it comes to violence. But it can also be showing or including violence, extremely powerful or forceful and capable of causing damage. This also can be violent, caused by physical force or violence, not natural, like a violent death. Emotionally agitated to the point of using harmful physical force. So if you use extreme emotional agitation in everyday interactions, people perceive you as a potential threat. They don't see you as safe. They can see you as being potentially violent. Also, notably forceful, furious, or vehement. And also defined as extreme and intense. So those are our definitions for violent. Please keep that in mind. There is an amazing book called Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men by a guy named Lundy Bancroft. And here is a list of things that he gives, and it's titled Danger Signs in Abusive Men. Number 1, he is extremely jealous and possessive. From my time involved in this situation, Zombiesgonomb was jealous and possessive. He was both of those. He showed both of those behaviors. He follows you, monitors your whereabouts, or stalks you in other ways. There has been more than one time where Zombie and I have been out and about, and Zombie got a call to come home. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And Zombiesgonomb was always incredibly inquisitive as to Zombie's whereabouts and activities, and would call and interrogate Zombie regularly. This was not unusual. Another symptom that Lundy Bancroft lists is you're taking steps to end the relationship or have already done so. As Zombie has said here, Zombie tried several times to end this relationship and was simply ignored. Another sign is, trigger warning for essay, he has been sexually violent towards you. As Zombie just confessed, that did happen. And so just the implication that could happen again is emotional, mental, nonverbal, non-physical violence. Another sign is he has access to weapons and is familiar with their use. He did have access to weapons, but where it really came about was how much Zombiesgonomb would brag about his martial arts prowess and about what he was physically capable of, and about how he would go around talking all the time about how he just had this rein on his temper and he didn't do anything because he was a good guy. The implication, of course, being that if he wasn't a good guy, you were in trouble. And this was something that he did on a regular basis. And also, referencing an earlier incident, Zombaby has seen Zombiesgonomb be physically violent towards other people. Another point, he seems obsessed with you. As we've already established, he was constantly checking up on Zombaby's activities and whereabouts. Another, he is depressed, suicidal, or shows signs of not caring what happens to him. This was something that he would imply and also say outright, that he didn't understand why Zombaby was in a relationship with him, about why Zombaby stayed, and about how he wouldn't care about living if Zombaby was not there. These are inherently violent things to say. He isn't close to anyone. I cannot tell you how many times Zombiesgonomb would inform me that he only told different people in his life different things, and it was so stressful keeping everything straight because he could not reveal anything to any one person. He kept his secrets close, and he was very diligent about what information he shared with what people. It was something that he was incredibly conscious about. I don't believe, and he admitted to me himself, that he was not on a per se best friend basis with anybody. Another sign, he has exhibited extreme behaviors when you made previous attempts to leave. Zombaby kind of glossed over this, but let me tell you, when you are alone in the presence of a man who is crying and yelling and saying things like, "How can you do this to me? Why would you do this to me? I am nothing without you. You can't leave." Half of the population will never know that feeling. But as somebody who is assigned female at birth, too many people born women have had that experience of being completely alone in a situation like that. And men who crave power and control will turn up the dial on these behaviors. And once again, they're not actually putting hands on you, but the implication is there. So they might not put their hands on you, but if they're saying things like, "I don't know what I'll do," these are tactics that specifically are said to make you afraid. If they don't put their hands on you, but they put their hands through a wall, if they don't say, "Oh, I'm going to hurt you," if they don't say, "I don't know what I'm going to do," these are inherently violent behaviors. And last but not least, he is familiar with your routines, the addresses of your friends and relatives, the location of your workplace, or other personal information he can use to locate you. I think it's been implied throughout the parts of this list that I have been reading. Zombiesgonomb had access to all of those things. So I thank you for your patience, and this is something that I am not experienced with, but what I am unfortunately experienced with is being in situations like this and trying to help people in situations like this. And the least that anybody can get out of this awful situation is knowing what signs to look for and when to get help. That's all I have for now.
But yeah, these are the things that I had forgotten to include in the first part of this video. But I feel like if I'm going to tell the truth, I might as well tell the whole truth. So yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys.